Welcome to a new series in which I am taking on a challenge of only using melee weapons in Rimworld. The difficulty is set to merciless, and the storyteller is Randy Random. For starting location, I'm looking for a mountainous region in a temperate forest. As far as mods go, I don't plan on using any, so this run will be attempted completely vanilla. This means my character will have to be hitting random until I get one that suits my fancy. Main stats I'm looking for is good construction, crafting, and of course melee. Ideally I'd like them to have no negative stats, but we'll see how that goes. This survivor caught my eye. Although lacking construction skills, he had very high crafting and melee stats. Another noteworthy trait was nimble, allowing him to dodge close quarter combat easier. And so our journey begins, with Veli. While scouting for a good base area, I noticed these insect hives, which could give a possible food source of insect jelly. After finishing some scouting, I started straight towards cutting down the berries and getting a food supply ready. My very first order of business was to create a stockpile zone to store my early supplies before moving to a new location. With some steel nearby, I figured the best weapon would be a knife. Towards the end of the night, a manageable supply of food had been stored, ready for another day, and construction of the knife had begun. After some rest, the knife was completed the next morning. Here is our show of our first and probably permanent problem: hunting. Veli has to get close enough to stab the animal, which means the animal can fight back. Thankfully, no damage was done to Veli in this encounter, but it will most definitely be a problem. This closed off area is where I decided would be the best place to start our first base. Here is the first attempted theft of insect jelly from the insect hives. The attempt was completely successful, meaning that this could be a reliable source of food for a colony. The downside I didn't realize is that it's a dangerous food type, meaning you can contract food poisoning from it. Food poisoning is incredibly dangerous for us, especially this early in the game, and Veli coming down with it could be an issue. With Veli getting food poisoning, priority number 1 was moving everything into the new home, for ease of access and some slight protection. While Veli was carrying supplies back into the base, the first special event of the season took place. A wild man appeared. His stats looked useful, but there wasn't much we could do while Veli had food poisoning. Later into the night, our food problem became very apparent, as Veli was forced to eat the corpse of a bunny. Thankfully, his food poison had passed, meaning he was back up to full mobility. In an attempt to stall the food problem, I had Veli go out and kill a raccoon. First order next morning was to butcher the raccoon, to make more out of the food we did have. Next on the to-do list was to gather more food. We jumped back to Veli trying to tame the wild man, but to no avail, as his animal handling skill was too low. In better news, an ibex ram self-tamed, meaning our next meal would come to us. With the ibex ram slaughtered and butchered, Venti goes off to bring a dead hare and add that to the stockpile. Unfortunately, Veli finally snaps and goes on a tantrum, thankfully not destroying anything. After Veli's tantrum, Randy Random decided to be generous and sent cargo pods full of meat. The next object of interest is more crashed cargo pods, but this time containing rice. This is significant because rice takes much longer to rot than meat, meaning we have a somewhat stable food supply for the next week. With a somewhat stable food supply, some other things could be taken care of, namely security. To ensure Veli doesn't step on the traps, a new entry into the base needed to be built. These first few days, Randy Random has been suspiciously generous. This time around, delivering enough bird skin to create a tribal wear, allowing us to eliminate that -9 mood penalty. With the tribal wear on, the mood penalty of being naked has been removed, and it is a positive note to end the episode on. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time.